here we are with Jeff Zirlin, also known as Jihoz. He's the growth lead at Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity is a really exciting digital game built on Ethereum, involving different kinds of cute animals. So super excited to learn more about this crazy world. Excited to have you, Jeff.
Hey, yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's an honor. Been a long time subscriber. So yeah, really excited to be here today.
Yay, thanks so much. Okay, so before we dive into Axie, first tell us a bit about you. Like what's your background and how did you initially get involved with Axie Infinity?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I've always been a collector of rare and interesting things. So I grew up collecting butterflies and insects. But yeah, during college, I also studied military and economic history. So I was really interested in like central banking, things like that. So I started researching Ethereum in 2017. And then I actually found out about blockchain gaming and non-fungible tokens through CryptoKitties. So that was kind of like the first experiment. So I dove in as a community member, met a lot of really interesting people. And I thought it was fascinating, this idea of truly being able to earn your game asset and sell it to anyone, anywhere in the world. I thought that was awesome. But obviously, CryptoKitties was kind of a very basic proof of concept, right? So there were a lot of people in the community who wanted something more, something with a bigger vision, something game asset with more utility, more fun baked into it. So yeah, I actually found the Axie Infinity project right as it was starting. And I was fascinated by this idea of a kind of a digital pet game, kind of like Pokemon built on Ethereum. And yeah, as a community member, I think obviously, Web3 is a very community-driven ecosystem and ethos, right? So I started out as a community member, just started helping out, and my involvement and my kind of responsibility started to grow over time. And I ended up joining the team as I think one of the first hires. And that was kind of the start of this crazy journey.
Nice. Were you a gamer before getting into Axie and CryptoKitties?
Yeah. So I grew up playing Diablo, World of Warcraft. I was a beta tester, and I was in a kind of a prominent World of Warcraft guild when I was young. Actually, I had to go to boarding school because I was playing WoW so much that my mom couldn't take it, so I was sent away. So yeah, lifelong gamer. Yeah, actually, also I got banned randomly while playing World of Warcraft for things that my guildmates had done while I was away at summer camp. So that was kind of like that was a taste of this idea that the traditional gamers, we lack a lot of property rights that we wouldn't necessarily think of. But there are a lot of I think gamers do lack a lot of freedoms that we would take for granted, and we don't see our game assets as forms of digital wealth yet. But if people did, they would see that they're lacking a lot of kind of these property rights. And I had a taste of that in an early age when I was around 14 or something. Yeah, I had my account banned, which was at the time worth, if I could easily sell it, worth a couple of $1,000s. So.
Were you able to get it back?
No, we had to start. We had to start over. Yeah, and I think there's like some kind of claim system, but it's So it's like that was a pretty negative experience for me back then.
Wow. Okay, so that like very clearly highlighted the value of a permissionless system where you actually own the assets within the game, like you own the in-game assets. So I guess that's a nice segue for you to explain what Axie Infinity actually is and what value it has relative to traditional games.
Yeah, definitely. So Axies are fierce creatures. You can battle them, you can collect them. Axie Infinity is built on Ethereum. So players are able to actually build up a collection of Axies and use them across an ever-expanding universe of games. So Axie Infinity isn't just one game. It's a series of game modes built on top of these game assets. So right now we have a battle system that's similar to a card game. But you can breed Axies, which is also kind of like a separate game as well. And then we're also working on a land system, which is kind of like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Pokemon mixed with a little bit of kind of DeFi token farming magic. So we're really excited. We're really excited about that. It seems like people are, recently been very excited about this idea of like, oh, like what if you could, do yield farming, but in a video game? Well, we've actually been building that for the last year and a half or so. So I think it's going to be a really timely release. Hopefully in the next half year or so.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. Okay. So let me see if I understood how it works. Players own different kind of digital pets, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then they can use them to play with different games built on kind of the Axie Infinity ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So right now there's the main game that we have out. It's currently in alpha, is a battle game. So you can play basically a card-based battle system against other players. Mm-hmm. And then we also have sponsors like MakerDAO is sponsoring with DAI. Kyber Network is sponsoring with KNC. Mm-hmm. Digix is actually sponsoring with Real Gold. And so we're able to actually distribute those tokens to players on the leaderboard. So I like to think that Axie is a pioneer in play to earn. We also have and this idea of play to earn, which is being able to actually earn an income or actual money just by playing a game.
Wow, that's so interesting. Okay, so like kind of the flagship game is this kind of card battle between the different Axies, and then you mentioned other games, including this. Something that looks like yield farming, which is also built on the system. And is anyone able to make these games? How does it work? Is it like that permissionless and anyone can build on kind of the Axie ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. So eventually we really want to make an SDK to make building on top of the Axie game assets really simple and easy for anyone. Right now, the game, all of the major functionalities that have been built for Axies have been built by the Axie core team called Sky Mavis. But we eventually want to, we do want the community to start making kind of alternate games in the future built on top of the system. Right now we have an open API, and obviously a lot of the Axie related data is on Ethereum. So our players are turning out some really awesome kind of like fan sites and Axie related websites such as Axie Zone, Axie World. So yeah, I think that definitely we do want to go in that direction over time, where we have other game studios or the community, building Axie games with the IP.
Very cool. So before we get off the topic of explaining Axie itself, I'm really interested to hear more about this kind of yield farming game.
I think generally the idea is that people are interested in the idea of earning tokens for interacting with the product, right? Mm-hmm. And we have an upcoming governance token that a lot of people I think are really excited about. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that we will distribute that governance token is from basically harvesting it on top of a land plot that you can put your Axies to work on it. There will be structures on it, but we'll also send tokens to those land plots to be harvested each day, right? So imagine if you were Animal Crossing, right, was just very, very popular. Imagine if you were playing that game and you woke up in the morning, one of your chores was to rather than getting your bells, you're actually harvesting a token, which is basically a native governance token for the game that you're playing. So I think our players are really excited about that, and when we release it, I think it's going to be a watershed moment for the entire NFT space. People are going to find it's kind of like when Compound this past June, right? They released the comp token, and all of a sudden we saw TVL and DeFi applications starting to spike tremendously. I think once blockchain games realize that you can create a governance token, give it to your players, doing things within your game ecosystem that you want to incentivize, I think that's going to be a major catalyst for NFT-based economies and blockchain games.
So what can you tell us more about the token itself? Like what will users be able to do with the governance token?
Yeah, definitely. So we've been studying token design for probably almost 2 years now. So I was an early member of the synthetics community, just because I was looking at like what are the interesting token models that are out there. So I think generally the idea behind the token is that we want to align incentives between the Axie Infinity core developers, Sky Mavis, and the rest of the community. So I think the token will, yeah, I think be similar to some of the really nice token models that we've seen come out recently with kind of fee sharing, staking to incentivize holding, and gradually these types of governance rights, right? So first, governance might be in the form of social signaling. So right now, I'm not sure if you've seen, there's a site called Snapshot, right, where I think communities are basically using their tokens to signal their support for different initiatives. Eventually, I think the holy grail, right, is to have governance where the voting actually is then automatically kind of carried out on chain.
Right.
So yeah, I think basically we're going to go with a progressively decentralized rollout. And I think also a gaming DAO is interesting relative to like a true like DeFi or a pure DeFi application, right? Because you still need in a game, I think, someone to kind of carry out development of the game. It's not like where the thing is kind of born perfectly and the community can kind of almost take over from a very, very early stage. So I think, but yeah. So I think at the beginning, the token will be a lot about, being able to earn it, stake it. We'll have a DAO treasury that will basically accumulate, things like the marketplace commission, future sales, things that Sky Mavis, the core development team, had in the past been keeping for ourselves.
Okay. And so where are those fees and commissions coming from?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a in-house marketplace. You can kind of think of it as an NFT DEX built in-house, and we take that marketplace does 97% of the Axie related NFT volume, and there's a fee associated with that. We also we also sell limited edition collectibles. We've sold land in the past. We've sold 25% of the land, and there's still actually 75% of the land in the universe to be sold at a later date. So things like basically primary sales, and then also kind of fees from the smart contracts that we develop.
Got it. And what's the percentage fee for the trades?
Yeah, so right now we take a 4.2% cut for marketplace transactions.
Oh, that sounds really high.
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's very high when you compare it to something like Uniswap, which takes 0.3%, things like that. But it's interesting. There definitely remains to be, I think there are a lot of interesting experiments to come with, like what is the ideal fee for, and then also, once the fee starts going, towards the community, right now there are some people who, would want to try and bypass that fee, but maybe less would want to bypass that when that fee is actually going into the treasury, right? So.
Okay, that's interesting. So that fee with this new governance token will start going to a DAO and then distributed among token holders.
Yeah. I think that's the general idea.
Interesting. And then maybe token holders can vote to change that fee in the future and vote to change other things. Okay. Okay, so you've mentioned NFTs, obviously a bunch. Can you explain, kind of in basic terms what these are?
Yeah, definitely. So right now, NFTs are tokenized game assets, art, music is even coming. So I guess generally when you think of an ERC20, every single one is kind of generally is the same. It represents it's kind of like a protocol token, whereas an NFT is something that's unique. So it might be if you were to tokenize your house, it would be an NFT. It wouldn't be an ERC20. If you were to tokenize a piece of art, it would be an NFT, not an ERC20. So yeah.
Right. So not like the idea is non-fungible. They can be interchanged because they're unique. And so taking this concept of NFTs and, we were mentioning it before of being able to build on kind of this permissionless layer that is Ethereum, having governance rights in the future. Wanted you to take these elements and compare why these blockchain games are different from the traditional games. Like, why is there value in this space?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that on Ethereum on Ethereum, gamers by default are born with property rights to basically sell their game asset to anyone, anywhere in the world. They also have the ability to earn tokens just by playing the game and selling them on something like Uniswap, right? So I think a lot of it is about how there's a marketplace which you can just see as an NFT DEX, right? So what are the benefits of using a DEX, right? It's like being able to use it no matter who you are, where you are in the world, right? So basically this idea of, why do we use DEXs for ERC20s? Well, those same principles can then be applied to game asset markets. So we see our NFT marketplace as one. Another benefit is being able to earn a token just by playing the game. That could theoretically have a liquid market. So right now, an early experiment that we did is with the small love potion SLP. It's you actually need it to breed your Axies, and we don't sell it. That Sky Mavis, we don't sell it. It would be very easy if we were a traditional gaming company to maybe sell that potion and make a decent amount of money, but we don't sell it. It's dropped by playing the game. So the only way that you can earn it is by playing the game. And then if you want to buy that token, trade some of your money for time, you have to actually buy it from the Uniswap V2 pool, which has, I think, around 36 ETH in liquidity. So it's not which is relatively significant amount of liquidity. So yeah, I think this idea of play to earn, right? And I think the way to scale that is with this idea of allowing your players to earn a piece of the game universe through a native governance token, allowing them to earn that by playing the game. I think that's the way that we scale play to earn. So I think this idea of being able to basically use a NFT DEX and then this idea of play to earn, I think those are the two most important benefits of a blockchain game. And you see a lot of really interesting behaviors that emerge when the incentives are more aligned between the developers and the community, right? You get crazy evangelists. Like there are people who have gotten Axie tattoos. We have our own podcasts, right? For a very small game, it's kind of unusual to see, the community organizing, creating all this content, getting tattoos, starting leagues, starting esport teams. But the level of kind of loyalty and excitement is really high because they do have exposure and kind of a real stake within the game. And we're also, looking at ways, and that's kind of why we were inspired to, during we've been building throughout the bear market. And there was the time where no one was interested in having an ERC20, right? Like everyone was like that, ICOs were a bad idea. Like we shouldn't have these tokens. But actually what happened is we would have a lot of people come into our Discord asking like, how can I earn the token for this game by playing it? How can I do that? And it just kept happening over and over. So it's like, actually a lot of people for some reason think that should be a good idea. And we started to look into it more. Delphi Digital, who, was very interested in the NFT space and kind of Axie from a pretty early stage, also helped us a lot with the token design. And so, yeah, I think there is a general kind of consensus within the Ethereum community that NFTs are like the next big thing. That it's, after DeFi, it's like NFTs and DAOs. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think the way that I guess like right now we're just kind of gathering Tinder. And I think the match that kind of sparks it will be this idea of, earning a native governance token by simply playing a game.
Yeah, will be interesting to see for sure. So On this topic, what are some of the real world like people, like so we're talking like in the very abstract of the value of these games. Do you have examples of actual Axie Infinity users earning I don't know if a living, but at least like supplementing their income because they just by playing the game?
Yeah, definitely. So there are many different archetypes of people kind of like playing to earn within Axie. But I think the most interesting and the thing that's gotten us the most attention recently has been players from the Philippines during the recent pandemic who have been playing Axie, to actually put food on their family's table. So players in the Philippines are earning between $3 to $6 an hour playing Axie, which is much higher than the minimum wage across in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So we have there was actually just an amazing CoinDesk article that came out about this phenomenon. There's an entire town in I think the northern Philippines, just I think north of Manila, that is playing Axie. So like multi generations, so like grandmas, aunts, mothers, and it's spread like wildfire there. So and I think play to earn is really even though it's still at a small scale, making a difference for people in some of these developing countries. And yeah, actually, I think they have a lot of passion too for the game. I think the guy who started the craze in his town in the Philippines, he actually he earned a bike, like a motorcycle, it's like a motorbike, by playing Axie and put all these stickers on it. And so I thought
that's amazing.
I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And is there like why specifically the Philippines? Do you know, or was it just kind of random?
Yeah. So this is also happening in Venezuela, Indonesia, basically places where, there's a lot of people play mobile games, people have mobile phones, and the minimum wage is quite low. So we do have these pockets of activity like that. The Philippines, I personally visited the Philippines a couple of times and gave some talks there. There's someone named Gabby Dizone, who is kind of influential in the gaming space there, and I'm very interested in NFTs and DeFi, and he's been also kind of critical and key to us kind of building up a core little community there.
Oh, awesome. Got it. Can you give me a sense of the kind of broader user base and just traction? In terms of volume, users, what are you seeing?
Yeah, definitely. So there are currently over 7,000 people who hold Axies. We currently have around 3,000 monthly active users. And there's around 7,600 people on our Discord. In terms of volume, there has been over 7,000 ETH. So I think a couple $1 million of kind of game assets and Axie related game assets traded on our in-house marketplace.
In total?
Yeah, 7,000 in total. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How does that compare with the rest of the NFT market? And like, I guess blockchain games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so in terms of traction, right now, Axie has the largest number of weekly active users. So we just saw that come out from nonfungible.com on Twitter. So I think, we are, I believe we're the number, I would say that in terms of traction, we're kind of leading the pack right now in terms of Ethereum-based games.
Okay, cool.
And then, in terms of volume, I think we're also up there. And Axie is also, sold for, we've had Axie sales. So one sold for 110 ETH. We actually just had one sell for 90 ETH recently. So I think like there's also, a lot of people, they talk about like the play to earn in the Philippines and they think that's awesome. I think that's awesome too, but we're also attracting art collectors and people who, see these Axies as beautiful and rare and are really interested in some kind of the very kind of scarce and hard to replicate ones.
Wow, that's crazy that they would pay that much money for an Axie. And do you think are they actually playing with them, or do they have them as like a collector's item?
Yeah, I think most of the people who are spending like 50 plus ETH on an Axie, they're more just they're very active. They tend to be very active in the community, evangelizing the game. But in terms of like playing the game on a daily database basis, like grinding out in the arena, they're not that kind of user.
Okay.
So the collectors are kind of their own group within the ecosystem. They tend to be very helpful too. They might even fund like tournaments or fan sites, things like that. Because they're kind of more like investors, basically.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about the kind of how big the market for in-game items can be, because I understand it's already quite big in like non-blockchain games, and so I don't know if you have the numbers for that. Like how big is the in-game assets market, and how does it compare with the blockchain game market? So I'm trying to kind of see whether like what percentage of like total gaming is blockchain games doing right now.
Yeah, I think it's a minuscule per percentage of the markets, right? So far, so it seems like I think the entire kind of global gaming market is in the hundreds of billions. That's also being boosted this year, especially because because of the pandemic, people are spending more time inside. We're kind of moving towards a digital first world. So yeah, I think the total market for gaming items is in the billions, and the gamers who are buying these items, they really lack basic property rights. And as we kind of change our lives so that we're spending more time indoors, we're spending more of our lives on a computer, we need to start thinking of our digital possessions as things that we actually own. And so I think that's kind of a mental leap that needs to be made and will be made. It's kind of like the idea of being your own bank, right? Which is very popular with the DeFi crowd, and has many benefits that we believe as a community are going to be benefits that are just too hard to ignore over the long term. We in the NFT space, for the most part, I think, believe that these freedoms that non-fungible tokens give gamers and enable gamers to access are basically things that in the long run give us as a space a big advantage that should kind of draw in curious gamers, hobbyists at first, but I think it's a network, right? So each user adds more value than the last, and eventually I think you start to see a stampede, and more eyeballs, more volume, more headlines, more and better developers, more fun games coming out. So I think we're starting to get to that point. It's still a very long road ahead, though.
Right. It's so interesting because this market that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars right now, that's, is most of that value basically accrued by the gaming companies, or are gamers? Because obviously in these games, the gaming companies themselves are the owners of these assets, right? Like gamers can't take them with them and just trade them independently. And at the same time, I guess not only are these companies owners of these in-game assets, but they're also reaping the trading volume itself. Like the users are trading with the gaming company, not among themselves, so they can't really kind of get those profits either, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, basically, right? So there's centralization on two fronts, right? There's centralization in terms of like the database that the game items are stored on, right? So there's a master, and it's in what you would call in computer science a master-slave relationship, where the game creator always has the master key to being able to delete your game item, whatever. And then there's also centralization of value accrual, where all of the value is accruing in the balance sheet of the equity entities that are creating these games.
Right.
And I think so. I think there's blockchain games offer a different path for both of those, right? Where you're basically storing the data on a public, visible, decentralized ledger, but then also aligning the incentives between the core developers and the community through some kind of shared token or governance token.
Right. No, it's so fascinating. And so, okay, as we transition to this world where gamers are actually in control of their assets and they can gain some of the value from trading them, how does this new world look? I'm interested in kind of this larger vision that you were talking about, where we are going to be living more online, and all of our digital assets will belong to us, whether it's currencies to maybe like clothing on our avatar to little digital Tamagotchis or whatever. So yeah, what do you think this world looks like?
Yeah, I think so. There's this idea of a metaverse, right? I think, and Andrew Steinwald is someone who's kind of written kind of extensively on this, and I think everyone has different kind of views on what a metaverse really looks like, and I think that there will be many. But I think the general idea is that in these metaverses, gamers and people will have certain freedoms, digital property rights that just currently do not exist at scale in the current systems, right? So I think, I think we're the people in the space. I think, and at least the Axie team, we believe in a future where work and play are kind of indistinguishable. We also believe in kind of empowering players and giving them new economic opportunities. So I think those are kind of like the basic, that's kind of the basis of our vision. And I think, as we pursue that vision, we see a lot of really interesting behaviors kind of developing in our community. So do we know exactly what the long term looks like? No, but I think if we generally pursue this path of giving, respecting our users more, giving them more voice, giving more voice and stake within these ecosystems, I think it's very important, because I think we're living in a world that, like, the physical world is becoming potentially like more totalitarian. So like maybe within these digital worlds, at least, like we can retain some of these property rights and freedoms that we might be lacking in the physical world.
That's so interesting. Maybe it'll be a way to escape what we're seeing in the real world, and just have more freedom, at least in this virtual spaces. How do you think DeFi plays into this? Like, how are NFTs? How do you think they will connect with the DeFi ecosystem, if at all?
Yeah, definitely. So we're right now, something like Uniswap is a vital part of our ecosystem, right? Like our players, we've onboarded, thousands of players or thousands of people onto Uniswap who've never used Uniswap before, because they need to go there to sell their love potions. So yeah, I think like the DeFi infrastructure is really helpful. It's really interesting, and I think like one thing that we haven't talked about yet is gas fees on Ethereum are really high right now, right? And that could be fine for these, for these DeFi applications that are handling huge transfers of value. But for something like a game, the gas fees could, potentially really negatively affect smaller users, right? So there's this idea of needing to migrate, right, to a layer 2 or an Ethereum sidechain. So yeah, basically we're working on something called Ronin, which is basically an Ethereum-based Ethereum sidechain, fully EVM compatible, application specific. And one thing is we would need Uniswap on the chain, or else we'll have a lot of complexities for our users, right? Having to go back and forth. So one thing that's awesome about DeFi, right, is this idea of open source code. So it's we could just have Uniswap on Ronin quite easily as well, right? So I think that's part of the what's awesome about the Ethereum ecosystem is everyone kind of sharing their code, and I think it's going to be really it's going to be one of the things that people will be surprised about is how easy it is to have something like Uniswap on an application specific layer 2. So I think we may be one of the teams to kind of demonstrate that initially.
Very cool. But so are you referring to a potential Uniswap fork on this layer 2?
Yeah, something like that. I think there are different models, or there are different AMMs popping out, right? It's Balancer is also really cool. But yeah, I think something like Uniswap would be probably most simple.
Right. But if you did a fork, the main kind of draw of Uniswap is its liquidity. I mean, obviously, how its UX and how it works are really important, but will it be useful to have a fork of Uniswap if you don't have the liquidity that's on Uniswap?
Yeah, that makes sense. So the thing is, most of the liquidity related to the Axie related tokens comes from our own community.
Okay.
Right. So I think it's that's one of the benefits of having a pre-existing community is that the liquidity that is on Uniswap that actually originates from our community rather than from the external things like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Would love to for you to talk more about how high gas prices are affecting use right now on Axie. Are people still playing as much as they were, or is it attracting more whales than before? How have things changed?
Yeah, definitely. So actually, the interesting thing is that despite Ethereum gas fees skyrocketing in the last couple of months have been our fastest growth by far, right? So I think it has to do with more people finding out about Ethereum, but also this clear play to earn narrative and opportunity establishing. So actually, the high gas actually benefits Axie relative to other projects because you're actually able to earn money by playing the game. So the gas prices are just a cost of doing business. I think the games that the high gas prices hurt the most are the ones that there's a very slim margin of profitability, which then gets destroyed because of the gas prices. So
are gamers on Axie are they still profitable? Or do you have metrics to show that the percentage of gamers that are profitable even with these gas prices?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that so you can buy a team of Axies for let's say $30, right? And then you can earn around, let's say $5 an hour, just farming love potions. So as long as you put in, around 7 to 10 hours of work, you should be able to do it. And then there are also more complex ways of earning, collecting some of the cap supply Axies and things like that. And there are players that have earned in the hundreds of ETH. With some of these more complex collecting strategies, arbitrage trading, market making, being really so it's not just about people grinding it out $5 an hour at a time. There's also kind of more complex and detailed opportunities. Like basically, some people hold mystic Axies, which are a type of Axie. Kind of think of it as the first edition Charizards of the Axie world, right? Where they were only released at the start during the opening pre-sale. There's cap supply, and they have special aesthetics. So there are people who collect those, and those have done quite well as something to hold within the Axie universe as well.
That's amazing. So, I mean, you're talking about arbitrage strategies, stuff like that. Like, are you seeing a type of gamer that's, coming from like the hedge fund manager world? Is it like crypto funds trading Axies too, along with more like retail, I guess, gamers?
Yeah, I've had some of our first inquiries from crypto funds that are looking to get into the NFT space, and they're like, yeah, what should we buy? Like, okay, we want the governance token. Like, when is that coming out? But also, like, are there game assets? So yeah, I think I think that's going to be, we're going to see headlines where it's like crypto fund buys digital land or cute pet for tens of thousands of dollars. I think we're gonna. So that's the kind of headline I think that drives a lot of attention and new eyes to the ecosystem as well.
That's so funny. I mean, it's crazy because that's when you start to see these worlds kind of collide and the kind of interoperability of it all. I mean, there was this project, I think it was Rocket, that was also using NFTs as collateral for loans. So I mean, that's another way where the like finance with gaming can start to mix.
Yeah. Actually, I have a system. It's, I guess, centralized, where basically I will accept Mystic Axies as collateral for zero interest loans. So there are certain Axies that I'll accept.
Wow.
And I think I've given out like 140 ETH so far, and basically just accepting certain really rare Axies as loans. And then I also have a Discord for all the people who've kind of used that system. And it's kind of like one of these. Yeah, kind of like secrets. It's like kind of a secret society within the NFT space as well.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
I guess now I'm talking about it, so it's less secrets.
That's amazing. So I guess, I mean, I don't know if you're the only one. So maybe there's like a community of people who have been doing this and just taking NFTs as collateral for loans, and just like that's another way to like make money with these digital pets.
Yeah, I'm not really trying to make money too. Like I purposely made it zero interest. It's just more like a nice pawn shop, right? And I also own, I have stake within the Mystic Axie market too, and I want to it's kind of like a way to provide liquidity, allow people to get some working capital with them without having to sell them off.
Very cool. Great. Okay. And then can you provide, like you've mentioned a couple of things coming up for Axie, the governance token, the layer 2 scaling solution. So what are the timelines for those two?
Yeah, definitely. So I would expect some news related to the governance token in the next couple of months. And in terms of Ronin, our scaling solution, I want to say, so I guess Vitalik always says to assign numbers to your confidence intervals, right? So I'm going to try and do that. So I'm like 70, I would say 70% positive, 70% sure that we'll see something by at least Q1 2021. The internal goal is to see something by the end of this year. Okay,
very nice. I really kind of want all these scaling solutions to ship as fast as possible.
So I think so. Someone, I think it was Arthur from Defiance Capital recently said is like, we need yield farming, or we need token incentive programs on layer 2 to actually spur their adoption, right? And I think basically, we will have these kind of promotions related to our governance token where you can actually earn them by doing certain things. But majority of those will not kick off until our layer 2 or our side chain is live. Why? Because if you require people to send transactions to earn the government's token in any way. So let's say we awarded it to people who are breeding or people who are trading on our marketplace. You then get a kind of a perverse system where big whales are able to just trade gas, right, and eat gas fees for the governance token. And what is the point of all this? Is like we want to get the token into the hands of the people using our products, not just some whales, right? So yeah, basically, we're very excited about Ronin, and I think that we're going to see some very interesting programs for distribution of our token on Ronin, especially because we don't have gas as a limiting factor.
Got it. Okay, so the token and the layer 2 solution will pretty much go hand in hand then.
Yeah, I think, basically, so we'll have some announcements related to the token, and then I think, the mining, the biggest, kind of chance to play to earn the token will kind of coincide with the scaling solution. And then, we want to show our community more about the land gameplay, which I mentioned earlier. We want to show them more about that this fall. So 80% confidence that we'll have some, kind of maybe public beta or public alpha out in the next couple of months.
Awesome. Well, super exciting. Okay, to start wrapping up, wanted to hear the kind of longer term vision for Axie Infinity or just NFTs in general. Kind of, we talked about what's coming up next in the very short term, but what's kind of the big vision for, say, next 5 years, next 10 years even?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the goal that we're building towards is that Axie is not just seen as a game. Axie is seen as a place where you can live, work, and play. So a social network, where you can make friends and maybe even start a business with people, that you met playing Axie. Somewhere where you could where you can work. So, farming tokens, helping someone out by taking care of their land, or even building something, right? Like building an experience using the Axie game assets, and maybe charging some kind of fee to access it, or having your own token associated with it that somehow accrues value. So I think I think very community driven, some place where I think as a kid, right? Like I wanted to play games all the time, but my mom said, "Oh, you have to go to school." I was like, "Why do you have to go to school?" "Oh, so you can get a job and so you can earn money." Right? But I think in the future, right, we're living in crazy times, and I think we're living in a future where people will be able to sustain themselves by playing a game, right? That was one of the only drawbacks, was that you'd eventually have to leave to go to your job. So I think this idea of people being able to sustain themselves just by playing a game, that's I think something really compelling that we're working towards. We also, I was just living in Korea, and Kakao, right? It's kind of like this. It's a messaging app, and they have these cute creatures, and the brand is amazing. I actually think that Axie can kind of be something similar to the Kakao blockchain, where we draw people into using our stuff with these cute creatures, but then we have a game store, we have chat functionality, and this community of evangelists and people who are interested in this technology to tap into. So I think people tend to underestimate cute things, right? Because they're cute and they're non-threatening. But I think we believe that blockchain needs to be more eye-catching. It needs to be more fun. It needs to be more cute to attract more people. And one thing that I didn't mention is that we're starting to see 40% of the people that are been starting to play Axie recently are people who have never interacted with crypto before, but were referred by a friend. So I think that's another thing that I think is really important is we need to manually onboard our friends to start using Ethereum applications. We can't just wait till it's like very easy, like email sign in, and the fiat on ramps are very cheap and smooth. I think that will help in the long run. But there are a lot of things that we could be doing right now and that the Axie community members are doing right now to just get kind of muggles and I guess non Ethereum savvy people involved with these types of applications.
So do you see blockchain games and NFTs as maybe the primary way that this technology gains mainstream adoption?
I think it's an interesting timeline, something that could happen. I do believe that blockchain games will be a great user aggregation layer for DeFi. So this idea that people will come in for the games and will make wallets and be onboarded by something that's fun and cute, or some kind of headline like play this game and earn money, right? Play this Pokemon looking game and earn some money, or being recommended. But after that, once they're onboarded, we're seeing it firsthand within our community where they got into Axie, then got onboarded to Uniswap, got into Axie. We told them to open CDPs. So we partnered with Maker and basically gave anyone who opened a CDP during June of 2019 the ability to claim an Axie themed NFT.
Wow.
So I think these crossovers between gaming and DeFi are really important. I think that DeFi is really important for the for I guess like the financial health of our future generations. But I also think that we need new types of work. And DeFi right now is, I think, great for people who already have a lot of capital. But I think blockchain games are going to be a way for certain people who don't have any capital to make a little bit of capital and be onboarded into the rest of the crypto economy.
Awesome. No, so interesting. And I love kind of this vision of you don't need to leave your video game anymore to like go to school and make money because you're making money right there. That's pretty incredible. Awesome. Well, this has been so interesting, Jeff or Jihoz. Thank you so much. And can you show me that stuffed animal you've been? Oh, yeah. There it is. Oh my God, that's awesome. So cute.
Yeah, this is an Axie. Actually, I met my wife because of this.
No way.
I think I was holding this, and because she thought it was cute, like she came up and we started talking. So yeah, you can also get a girlfriend and a wife if you play Axie Infinity. That's another thing that I want to leave people with.
Amazing message to end the podcast. Again, thank you so much. This has been incredibly interesting.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, and yeah, thanks for everything that you've done for the ecosystem. And yeah, I'm gonna read your book soon. And yeah, thanks so much for today.